Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the part 2 of my complete review of finished pictures, and link to the part 1 will be in the info box. We will start this video with Magical Christmas by Lisa Mary Cullen, and I mostly color this book during December in order to get proper Christmas mood. I own this book for 2 years already, so that's all my pictures finished so far. I love this book because I can use in it the full color range of Inktense pencils, and because Christmas pictures they are meant to be bright after all. I also love that here we have mix of different subjects, some religious holidays, vintage pictures, book illustrations, Christmas songs, winter holiday traditions, and so on. And by the way, people, do you want to do Christmas in July coloring? I think maybe it would be fun. Coloring in Lizzie Cullen's book sometimes is very similar to solving a puzzle, but I love detailed pictures. And I'm glad that all pictures are equally interesting for me. You know, because very often we could find in books that only half of pictures are really interesting and inspiring, and the rest of the pictures are just fillers. But fortunately, not in this book. Apart from Inktense pencils, I also used unusual mediums. I have some supplies for scrapbooking, so for example for the page with petard, I used heat embossing technique. I used special heat embossing tool, ink and powder. I think that it really looks like a frozen window background. I'm not sure whether or not I will be able to finish this book during this year Christmas time, but at least I am sure that I will have December full of joy coloring this book. My favorite works from this book is picture which is called Snowfall, and also big spread which is called Vintage Market on Thames. I am very happy that I have another two books by Lizzie Mary in my coloring book collections. They were presents from my subscribers, and I am glad that even if Lizzie Mary obviously stopped to produce coloring book, I still will have hours and hours of pleasure when I will be coloring these two books. They are about England and about France, and it's also a very nice way to improve my French and English and to learn new proverbs. So far I finished only 2 pages in books about England, Teleho, and only one in book about France. The Bon Voyage book is the least detailed among all Lizzie Mary Cullen's books, so if you want to try Lizzie Mary's style and you are still too intimidated by the very detailed and huge pictures in Magical Journey or Magical Christmas, maybe you can look at Taleho or Bon Voyage. Another book I dream to finish one day is Flower Year by Lele Dule. I love everything about this book, from the cute size, color of the cover, texture of the cover. For me it resembles Victorian lady's diary. And of course Leila's talent in drawing flowers is absolutely outstanding. I always dreamed about learning botanical illustrations, how to paint them, but for me this book is a great substitute. Fun thing is that thanks to this book I learned so many flower and plants names, so sometimes when I'm walking in the park or in the forest and I saw flower, I sometimes know the name of the plant in English but not in my native language. I don't know why, but I never wanted to try other mediums apart from colored pencils, and soft pastels in this book. I can't imagine coloring with watercolors here, maybe because it's two-sided. Probably it would be better to color this book not with prismas but with harder polychromases, so I purchased 10 polychromases with natural green colors, and I am happy that I was able to mix them together with prismas in order to get more realistic effect. And for small details I also love to use my Faber-Castell bead pens and even felt tip pens from Stabile and Maped. I prefer to color in this book month by month, but even if pages are average in size, they are so detailed that this book is quite time consuming. But still I hope that one day it will be completely finished. And I gave myself a promise that when I finish this book, I will purchase the next one by Leila, which is her first grand book, Floribunda. Let's switch to Swedish books. When I watched the review for this book on YouTube, I thought that I would never want to color in this book by Emily Oberg. But when publisher kindly sent it to me, I realized my huge mistake. Because pictures here look simple, but they have some magic. They always turn out very nice without my hard efforts. Quality is also very good, and I was happy to discover how well my Derwent drawings and Derwent color softs lay down on this paper. And in my opinion, pictures here looks the best without complicated backgrounds. So my favorite way of coloring in this book is to add bright but plain background using gouache paints or acrylics. And it's really a great loss that this book wasn't reprinted in Sweden by Printworks, or that we don't have an English edition, because this book, in my opinion, really deserves it. It's suitable even for beginner colorists and for experienced colorists. It's very positive and has some air of fairy tales and Swedish legends, so it's again one of my favorites. I have completely opposite relationships with books by Maria Trolle. I don't know why, but I always have difficulties coloring in her books, especially in her first, which is Twilight Garden. I completely satisfied only with one picture in this book, and I managed to mess up all other pages which I tried to start in this book. I don't know why, because I love coloring flowers, animals here are cute, pages are not very difficult and quite quick to finish. Maybe it's some kind of negative magic. But at least I am happy that in other books by Maria I have less difficulties to finish, to find colors, and I am more satisfied with finished pictures. It was easier to find creative ideas for the Nightfall book. Sorry, I can't pronounce it in Swedish, so I prefer to call it Nightfall, like English book. I did here two girls' portraits. One I called Flora, and the second one is Warm Spring Evening. I don't know why I called it this way, but it helped me to select appropriate colors for this page. And I also did a very simple flower page when I tested Swedish oil-based pencils from Printworks Market. In my opinion, this third book by Maria is more interesting than the Twilight Garden, and the latest new book, which is Botanicum, is more interesting than the first three books. As usual, I used my Prismacolor pencils to finish this page, and I also used white Faber-Castell Pitt pen, which is nice for covering black lines. As I said, Botanicum is my favorite so far, so I plan to do a tutorial from it in the nearest future. And now let's switch to Hana Carlson books. I have full set of her books, first three in English edition and last two in Swedish. In my opinion, Magical Dawn and Jewelry books are the best, then Seasons and Summer Nights. But Daydreams or Dark Drummer also has a lot of beautiful nice pictures. Hana is one of my favorite artists, but in the beginning I was a little bit reluctant to start coloring in her books. I purchased this book before I purchased my Prismacolors, so I had some difficulties in the beginning. I started to color it with Kalins and color softs, but my main problem was how to create backgrounds. Mostly I used soft pastels, but I wasn't quite satisfied how my backgrounds looked. They were too plain for the Hannah beautiful pictures. I wanted something more creative, but I hadn't found some courage yet to start using my watercolors for the background. Here again I used mix of Kalins and budget Faber-Castell Eka pencils. But that squirrel is one of my latest work. It's one of my works for the Patreon page, the Patreon site. This one I did completely with Inktenses, but only after I managed to purchase a set of Prismacolors, I started to really enjoy Hannah's books. This one was already made with Prismacolors. I think that it was maybe my fifth work done by Prismas, and this is my favorite page so far in this book. I don't know why, but I almost never color the name page of coloring books, and I have even the worse habit of testing my art supplies on the first page in the book, and this is not the best way, especially if something went in the wrong direction. But here I just tested my Swedish pencils from Printworks Market and I hadn't finished the name page. Maybe I have to take my time and to finish all name pages in all my coloring books. It will be fun, some kind of marathon. I'm very happy with this work, how the black background helped to pop up this picture and how bright are colors here. This one is quite simple with soft pastel background. I still was reluctant to start doing the whole page, the whole background with prisms. This one done completely with color softs. And this sunflowers, my first page which I ever made with Prismacolor pencils, and I immediately fall in love with their creamy texture, with their softness, with their ability to layer, to mix together. It was such a huge difference with pencils which I knew, which I was familiar in my childhood, so Prismas now are my favorite art supplies, and I think that It will be for a long time my favorite medium for coloring books. Magical Dawn is my favorite, as I've already said hundreds of times. I am proud of almost each page which I completed here, and I even finished the name page. Here I already started to use different watercolor backgrounds to experiment with colors, to apply them more freely, to combine colors. And I don't know why, but pictures are more inspiring in this book for me. Also, I had a time when I almost completely stopped to color in Hana's books. I was overwhelmed by beautiful works by other colorists which I saw in Facebook groups, on Instagram, and I had an illusion that I don't have any creative ideas which are my own and which weren't already used by other people, and I was afraid to subconsciously copy other works. I felt myself more confident and I got back to Hannah's books when I started to use mixed media for the backgrounds, my lovely pearl watercolors and water-soluble crayons, and now I enjoy my time with Hannah's books. I am also glad that Hana included so many portraits in her books, and with these portraits I was able to practice coloring faces. I also love that girls in latest Hannah's books have less tattoos, less rings in noses, but have more laces, flowers, jewelry. They look more feminine. In seasons, I did only 2 pages so far. I don't know why, but I prefer pictures from winter and fall seasons. And I did this fall enchanters as my first page here. It took me a very long time, and thanks that you were quite grateful expecting the latest part of this tutorial. And this picture I made in June, I believe. I also applied my creative watercolors with different mediums. And as I said, fall is my favorite part of the book, so I will return to it in September. Hannah's latest book is perfect for me. Even if I only did 2 pictures so far, I love everything about subjects. I love to color cats and jewelry and girls, so I plan to do more and more tutorials from it. Next, I have 2 lovely books by Dennis Klett. It was a wonderful gift from the subscriber, and before she mentioned these books, I've never heard about Dennis Klett, and now I'm eagerly expecting her third book about gnomes. I colored less in fairies and more in mermaids just because fairies have more empty backgrounds, and when I didn't have gouache paints or my water-soluble crayons, I couldn't find the solution for such a huge backgrounds. But now I'm free to experiment and to create beautiful backgrounds. Book about mermaids is absolutely great. I have a lot of books dedicated to mermaids by different artists in my collection, but Mermaids by Dennis Klett are most funny, positive, smiling, and this book also has adorable creatures like pigs, like different birds, bunnies. Again, my favorite medium is watercolor for the background, and then different brands of pencils For details, I believe that I used both Prismacolors and color softs and my watercolor pencils here. And I already saw some pictures from her third book and it will be definitely a success. So we just have to wait until autumn. Mysterious Library was another beautiful present from a subscriber. Unfortunately, it's not as popular as it deserves. I was in love with the artist style from the first sight, but then I also discovered that it's possible to use watercolors, maybe a little bit carefully, but still it's possible to do watercolor underpainting and then to add the, to proceed color with pencils. And also I was surprised that best pencils, in my opinion, for this paper is my Derwent Color Softs. I have here one page which I hadn't finished. I am not quite happy with colors which I selected, so maybe I will try to correct it with gouache or neocolor crayons, but with other pictures I am really happy and I am proud of my works in this book. And now we will be looking at my favorite coloring book. It was a wonderful, generous gift by Roberta, and it made me so happy. I remember that feeling when I got this present, and it's absolutely unbelievable. This book is perfect for me, both in quality and, of course, with wonderful artist style, wonderful pictures, all those fantasy creatures, dragons, princes in medieval dresses, flowers, castles, everything what I appreciate, what I want to color, and what I enjoy to color the most. By the way, I wanted to create a quick poll. I need your opinion about which picture I have to select as my birthday coloring. Last year, I colored page from Zemля Snov and it was gorgeous lion because my birthday is in August and I am a lion. For this year birthday coloring, I think I will stop with four books. Zemля Snow, Villain Sun, at least it will be a nice moment to start coloring Villain Sun, which I own but hadn't started yet, shame for me. Or maybe two books by Kanoko Yagusa. So you have four books to choose, and I would like to know which book and which picture you prefer to watch and for me to create a tutorial as my birthday coloring. These two books by Kanoko Yagusa were a gift from Cynthia and I call Kanoko books. If you could purchase only one book, then purchase this one and you will be happy coloring for a couple of years. In the beginning, I wasn't sure whether or not I will be able to color fur for all those cute kittens, bunnies, but Kanoko style is suitable even for beginners and she already put shadows and fur, so coloring in this book is very easy and relaxing and I was also very happy to discover that it's possible to color with neocolor crayons and watercolors and different color softs. So these two books are perfect. By the way, have you seen news about third book by Kanoko? Unfortunately, it's available only on Amazon Japan for now, and it's like postcards in different sizes. But I hope that maybe one day it also will be available on Amazon USA. Kanoko books are also my favorites for December, for Christmas time. And I am sure that this year I will be doing all winter pictures which we could find here. Now we are moving to my less popular coloring book. This first one is Ayahuasca, which was kindly sent to me by artist Alexander Ward. It has very unusual and beautiful designs, but I wish that quality of the paper is better and more suitable for watercolor mediums. Next one is Dutch book by Julia Wong about beautiful fat ladies. Quality of the paper is very nice and I plan to color it completely with acrylic paints because here we have fun reproductions of famous masterpieces, famous paintings. I hadn't started my Fairy Lane book by Barbara Lanza, and in this book about Uchina I did only one page. I think it was on last Halloween. Another Swedish book in my collection, which I hadn't started yet, is this book dedicated to mythological creatures and goddesses. Very interesting, but unfortunately not popular on YouTube, and I just can't find time to start it. Next one is From Holland with Love by Massa Vanderberg, and I did only one portrait. Of course, I have Ivy and Inky butterfly coloring book. So far, I finished only 2 pages here. I can't understand how my Prismacolors work on this paper. For me, layering is a little bit tricky, and I plan to use different art mediums for Ivy, maybe even watercolors or gouache paints, so we will see. Next one is my lovely Search of the Light Bulb Burglar. A very easy, very relaxing book with fun pictures. I prefer to use paints, especially gouache paints here, and neocolor crayons also. Pictures are not big, not too detailed, so it's not time consuming, but I really love the artist style. Another great generous present from a subscriber, this set of books by Jade Gideon. Jade published 4 books designed especially for coloring with watercolors on professional watercolor paper. I have 3 and I am completely happy with my collection. My favorite so far is Thailand Escape, but the other 2 books are also beautiful and inspiring. If you're too afraid to start painting with watercolors but still want to enjoy that feeling of playing with paints, I suggest that you would purchase one of the books by Jade Gideon, and maybe with practicing your coloring skills you would be also able to do the next step and to start painting with watercolors. At least that's what I did, and maybe one day I will find enough courage to show you my watercolor sketches. If you're new to my channel, I have a playlist about all my art supplies which I prefer to use in coloring books, and I also have a separate playlist about my advices and my experience about watercolor for beginners in coloring books. Maybe you would find something helpful in these playlists. Another book designed specially for practicing watercolor skills is this book by Kathy Rice. Artist has a series of such books dedicated to different seasons, but all with beautiful flowers, flower designs. And I also love that here we have some advices about which watercolor techniques and skills we could practice. I have two gorgeous books by Blue Angel Publishers. I love all books about dragons, but this one is my favorite so far. Again, I used watercolors, pearl watercolors, and prismas. I definitely have to do more pictures from this book. I love how shiny is my picture, very suitable for the dragon. Another beautiful but very complicated book. This one maybe it's not suitable for beginners because designs pictures are very detailed and intricate, and if you don't like to use watercolors it would be quite time consuming to finish even one page. Another book where I finished just one picture is this official Game of Thrones coloring book. It's made after the TV series, and this is one picture which I finished so far, and maybe when we will be closer to the last season of the TV series I will be back to this book. Next I have a collection of my lovely Coloring Haven magazines. First one is by Hana, and I love this fairy godmother from Cinderella, and I am not happy with the princess from Aladdin. This one is a gorgeous collection of beautiful artists, but I hadn't colored it yet. Here I finished two pictures. I am so happy with these Coloring Heaven magazines because each month you are waiting for the surprise issue. You don't know the name of the next artist, and it's the best way to learn about new designers, new artists, and maybe to try coloring something which is unusual for you, out of your comfort zone. And it's also possible to color with almost all available mediums. This is one of the pictures which I finished in June, and I'm really happy with this one. This one I hadn't started, and this one also. I think that we almost finished with my coloring book collection. We have another book which is my latest addition to my coloring book collection with just one finished page. If you love to color faces, you may be interested in this one. Next two books are from a Russian artist, Anastasia Koldareva. Her first book is dedicated to mermaids. The book's name is Legends about Mermaids. I finished three pictures here. Paper is quite thick and very nice for watercoloring, and in my opinion this is the only way how to finish such a huge page. I don't know how it's possible to color only with pencils. And her second book is dedicated to dragons, but we also have some beauties here. I love this book because Anastasia's dragons are definitely not warrior dragons. They are cute, fun, and kind. By the way, Anastasia recently published her third book, and I hope to show it to you very soon. And next I have a selection of my fantasy books. This one is by Anne Stokes. I hadn't colored in it, but I did two postcards also by Anne Stokes and with the same designs, but postcards are printed on watercolor papers and I did them completely with watercolors. I am quite proud with the result. It was my first successful attempt to color a person with watercolors. They are not big, but I love them. Next one is Briar, or maybe I think I have to do my birthday coloring from Briar, also very nice choice, and another sadly neglected by me book. This is the only picture I did in December, and since December I hadn't touched this book. Next one is a grayscale book which I don't know how to color properly. This is Princess Bride As You Wish coloring book and I finished 4 pictures here including 2 portraits of Inigo Montoya, this one with Prismacolors, and this is not very successful attempt to color with watercolors, but paper is not very good for glazing and layering with watercolors. It's better to work with pencils. Here I have watercolor background and all details are made with various brands of pencils. And here we have books where I don't have finished works, only works in progress. So I just show you what I have in my collection. I have a lot of books by Pepin Press, also printed on watercolor paper and also especially for coloring with markers. As I said, I have a separate playlist where I have all reviews about all books which I currently own. Thank you for your patience if you watched these 2 long videos. I hope that you will be with me during the next year of my channel and that we will share our passion coloring. I wish happy coloring to all of you. Thanks again for all your kind support. See you!